everyone. And the media questions as well. We'll do a lot of pictures then as well. Do you guys want to take a seat over here? So Arjun, let's start with your character in Made in Heaven.
Yeah.
And I know that you are playing a homosexual character. And in Indian cinema, unfortunately, now not recently, so I can see Zoya already raising her eyebrows and looking at me. I didn't write the questions. No, I'm just joking. In Indian cinema, not very recently, but in the past, we've had these very caricaturish, images and the way that sometimes a homosexual character has been fleshed out. And what I have seen of the promo, you play the character in a completely different way. Like no one would look at it and then just say, oh, ye to, he's a gay person. You know, that's stereotypical way that people think. So tell us a little bit about that portrayal.
I mean, it's like this, right? I can't look at this room and know just by looking at them how many people here are, So we never intended to put any of that across through performance. Or I never approached it as like, this is a homosexual character. It was just a character. And I don't know, I can't say much about the mistakes that cinema has been making in their portrayal.
No, we don't need you to get into that.
Yeah, but like, I hope that we've done justice, Yeah.
Was it fun? Weddings day in and day out, talking about it, breathing about it, and from a male perspective?
Personally, no, not for me. I hate big weddings. But and organizing them particularly isn't fun. And also while shooting the weddings, especially, like, we were reduced to background action, basically. So, the weddings were the worst part for me to shoot.
Hey, I know he answered it really well, but you reduced an extremely complicated character with many motivations and many interesting things to just his sexuality, which I personally disagree with.
No,
so I personally disagree with the question right off the bat.
Actually, Jim, there was this big argument and there was this big conversation about this one question before we got onto stage. And
you asked it first.
I know. And the character is very complex. And we did not want that to come out in the press conference. And we did not want to kind of reveal that and get into it. There was a 20-minute, chat about that. So they also wanted to leave something for the audiences to savor at 12 o'clock today when the show does launch. And for them to discover the complexities of the character for themselves. So that was the only reason that it happened. Shobita, can I ask you the next question? Working on, you've acted in films and now also a digital series as well. And the show has like a runtime of over 8 hours. And that's pretty much like 3 movies put into one. So what were the highlights of the show for you? What made you say, yes, I want to come on board?
I auditioned for the part, and any actor, we aspire to work with storytellers who stay authentic to the world that they're creating, who are honest with their emotions. Zoya, Nitya, and then Alankrita, Prashant Nair, who's not here with us today. These are all filmmakers whose work I had watched and really admired for a long time. So when I auditioned for the part, I knew that I'm testing for something that I know is going to be made very well. And then when I read the script, actually Arjun and I had done our look test together. We were really excited about having been chosen for our parts. And during the course of the shoot, actually, I don't think there was much of a difference like, hey, I'm shooting for a web series or I'm shooting for a film, because as an actor, your job is pretty much the same. You emote and so I really enjoyed the process, and there wasn't much of a distinction for me in terms of acting or approaching the character.
All right. And ladies and gentlemen, as your questions also come to your mind, we will be then opening the floor for the press over here as well. Kalki, I'd like to ask you a question. Working with 4 directors on one show, I mean, you all are still the common factor that stays throughout on the floor. What was that experience like for you? Was it something just extremely unique? I'm sure it was amazing.
It was confusing. I remember there was one day when I had to work with all 4 of them, I think. There was lots of scenes from different episodes being shot on the same day. And they all have a very clear style of their own. I think Zoya, I've worked with many times. She's got a very clear idea of her beats and what she wants out of the scene. Nitya, I think, kind of lets you do what you want and then pulls you back when you do too much. Alankrita has some very clear visual elements that she likes, and I think she likes to catch all of it. And Prashant basically is like, if you want to like get rid of all these lines, just get rid of them. It doesn't matter. Just feel the scene, you know. So they really have very, very different styles of working, and it was great. It was fun. It was also difficult. I think my character was also quite intense, and especially the therapy scenes were quite intense. But yeah, I'm glad I was part of it.
Give us a little sneak peek about the character. We obviously don't want you to give too much away, but just a little sneak peek for everyone that's watching right now.
Faiza is allegedly Tara's best friend. She is from a very rich background in Delhi. She's recently divorced and kind of in a rather vulnerable, tumultuous situation in her present love life.
All right. We can see all the characters shaping up over here. And as we said, 8th of March, ladies and gentlemen. Jim, do you have a mic? Yes, you do.
Yep.
So just following up on the same question about working with 4 directors. And I'm sure this was the first for you, right? Because when you're doing a film, it's just one director that you're working with. How was that experience for you?
Well, it was really difficult playing a heterosexual male, you know, that was the first big challenge.
You're never gonna forgive me for that one.
That was the first big challenge that I had to overcome.
Like you sit and work on your characters, you really worked on this one?
I had to really think about that and what the cultural significance will be here and whether people will accept it. I just didn't know, you know? It was fun. It was fun working with all 4 of them. I liked having different styles to interact with. You then, because after a while you kind of get your character, you kind of understand where he is, what he's doing, how he ticks, and then it becomes interesting to have that bump up against different people with different visions, with their own ideas of what he's like. And you know, I do feel that I barely know how I will react in all situations, and sometimes I surprise myself. So it's always interesting to have 4 different perspectives that give you 4 different possibilities to surprise yourself as a character. So I really enjoyed working with all of them, and you know, cool, yeah.
And you played that heterosexual man so well, I'm sure.
Well.
Jim, can you pass the mic on? All right, we've got the whole room. Yes. Because it's dark. That's what I thought. It is dark. Stage light. I thought so.
सेंटर में चलो स्टार कास्ट कर लो चलो कम क्लोज चलो सोलो सोलो कपल 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 फोटो कपल फोटो
They want a few solos. Can you all just decide?
Only ladies. Only ladies. Center. Hi, Satish. Kalki solo. Thank you. एक सोलो सोलो कल्की कल्की नेक्स्ट कल्की One more.
Center.